Alberta has recently had a very difficult week in terms of climate. It was very cold, and we need to reflect on how coal, natural gas, and fuels such as gasoline and diesel saved Alberta from a week of hell. Alberta has approximately 16,000 megawatts of installed generating capacity. During the cold of last week, December 5th to the 9th, we repeatedly bumped up against 11,400 megawatts of consumption, which was record usage. Because we have that additional capacity of close to 5,000 megawatts, we were not in any danger of having brownouts and having a shortage of energy. Of that capacity, approximately 62,000 megawatts came from coal. And as you know, a plan is in place to take that coal out and replace it with wind and solar. I want to touch on what would have happened this last week if the coal was out and wind and solar was in its place. Before we do that, we have to touch on the theory of solar and wind as it applies to Alberta. In December at noon, the sun hits the surfaces of solar collectors at very low angles. The sun is only 20 degrees above the horizon at noon. That's the best it gets. The sun is only up for approximately 7 hours between the hours of 8:30 and 4:30 p.m. Peak consumption happens after the sun goes down. During the week in question, the reality was we had a lot of cloud in the sky as well. So essentially, we had a cloudy sun trying to generate solar. Therefore, the solar contribution capability was essentially zero. Alberta has approximately 1,000 turbines installed, and they can generate 1,500 megawatts of power. If we look at the formula for the potential to generate power, first of all, we see it's directly proportional to air density. Colder air is more dense. That's good. Cold air has potential to generate more power. But we also need to note that the potential is cubed with respect to velocity. That is, if the wind velocity drops by a half, the power potential decreases to 1/8. During this week in question, wind contribution capability dropped significantly because essentially the wind was just a whisper. We had a quiet mass of cold air settled onto southern Alberta. So what would have happened if that wind and solar was in place when we have cloudy low sun angles and we have minimal wind? Well, of course, that wind and solar capability drops out, and therefore our entire system capacity drops out. That would have left us with a significant shortfall of close to 1,400 megawatts of power. That would be bad enough. But if we had converted over to electric cars during this time, our shortfall would have been much, much bigger. The week from hell in Alberta, that wasn't because of hydrocarbon-based energy, would have had many cascading impacts. We wouldn't have been able to travel. The cars were out of juice. We would have been locked at home. We would have had sporadic heat in our houses. Between significantly lowering the temperatures and our forced air systems not working, it would have been much cooler than people actually had them. We probably would have had the mandatory elimination of non-essential equipment, such as home entertainment, computers, internet surfing, Christmas lights, many kitchen appliances, etc. We would have had to revert to task lighting in houses rather than the general lighting we enjoy. And it goes without saying that many industrial buildings and activities would have been mandatorily shut down. This is just a quick snapshot, but this is what the consistent, reliable nature of hydrocarbon-based power generation prevents. Wind and solar cannot protect us against these kind of events.